Okay, hello, welcome. This is the Hunter tier list for season 25 that people have been asking for. So yeah, okay, let's get on to the tier list then, shall we? First and foremost, as usual, Ember. Ember will be 1000 games later. Ember is still highly counterable. Ember, in a nutshell, his chase is really bad. Right, in a nutshell, his chase is really bad. He gets countered by his counterplays, and he gets countered by survivors who counter him. What does that mean? Ember basically gains stacks of fury when he gets stunned, so it's like 50% stack whenever he gets stunned, regardless of the duration of the stun. So let's just say, like, even if prisoner does his electrocution, it'll be 50%, or even if forward does like one whole ass of a long ball, it would still be only 50% of fury's rage stack. Which leads to the problem as well, because in current day meta, you're either a harasser with items, right, or you're a survivor who has items to create distance from the hunter. So hypothetically speaking, in like, you know, let's be honest, in today's day you have patient, you have psychologist. Tanking 3 hits from psycho just hurts a lot as Ember, and you will also have, you know, magician, the wands. It's annoying, you won't be able to get terror shock there. Even lucky guy can contain him for quite a long time. There's also the fact that not a lot of Embers bring fast pallet breaking, so good luck with you guys on that, you know, if they do decide to spam pallets. So it does take a relatively long time to learn and master Ember till you can reach to a certain point where you're like, okay, I can deal with this, I can't deal with that, I can get my 60 seconds down, or even if I don't get my 60 seconds down, I can camp to win. Because Ember is a huge camp hunter as well. So even if you have a bad early chase, if you have, like, you know, 2 or 3 stacks of fury / rage, however you want to call it, you can basically deploy it on your puppets, one on puppet and then one red puppet by yourself, and then basically fail the rescue, which I think is great. But that's only the case of when it's not a 4-man team, because they'll just come dual rescue and then start harassing you or start body blocking, so then it'll be a really good rebound kite. Ember does have puppet dolls though, but those only open after you reach phase 1. So let's just hypothetically say, like, the survivor gives you a free hit, nice, you have blink, you blink it down. The game is basically on your side by then, is what you think, but you're wrong once again. Because why? Maybe survivors actually didn't fully utilize all their items. Maybe the harassers are gonna come, maybe a triple magnet prospector is gonna come, maybe a forward's gonna come. So you're basically screwed, in a nutshell. It's gonna be really hard, because, like, you're basically saying, okay, I throw dolls to break the distance between me and the survivor, but after that, does the survivor have items? If yes, then oof, maybe they'll rebound kite you for a long time. If not, then okay, great. If they pallet stun you, you're basically still screwed as well. So for Ember, he doesn't have a lot on him, but his map control is definitely very good. Anyone who plays him, you can definitely master him, but probably 1k games later, maybe you can stand toe to toe to, like, higher tier survivors, like let's say tier 7, tier 8, and you can win against them. So yeah, it does take a lot of dedication, but those are the scenarios for Ember in general. So what does he have? He has really good camp, a decent chase, but that's only after you unlock phase 1, basically the same as Woo, just a bad chase early game. And map control is also decent as well, but you can't really rely on your puppets. When you put fury on your puppet, you can't really rely them to hit the survivor, cause, you know, survivor can dismantle the puppet, aside from your red puppet, the soul puppet, of course, the red one. So yeah, that's my thing on Ember. He's basically 1k games later until you can actually start mastering him properly. Moving on, we will have Smiley Face. Smiley Face will most likely be fun to play now. Smiley Face actually got a buff, and he got a mini side buff as well after the Survivor Persona nerf. Now what does this mean? This basically means for the survivor with the likes of Barmaid, Forward, Batter, let's say, those 3 bring flywheel and pallet speed boost, but because of the Persona debuff, the Persona adjustments, now there's no pallet speed buff by itself. Palette speed buff has been merged with window speed buff, and a new persona has been added in, the basically palette or window vaulting speed buff, which is 15% increase. XYZ, doesn't matter. But like, for Smiley Face, this means a lot to him, because this means that less and less survivors will start bringing Flywheel. I'm not saying no survivors will bring Flywheel, but less survivors will bring Flywheel, so there's less of a chance that Smiley Face's Rocket Dash will be cancelled by the survivor, because you know that is genuinely a huge counter to Smiley Face players in Season 23. So yeah, for Smiley Face, he does have a relatively good chase as long as he has Rocket Dashes, because once you land the first Rocket Dash, then you can basically either blink down or wait for the next 8-second Rocket Dash, because a lot of Smiley Faces do bring incidents, of course, to unlock phase 1 for that Rocket Dash. Else you will most likely just be blinking down. He does have an okay camp. Smiley Face relies a lot on double hitting, so if you do manage to double hit, the game is kind of on your side, because you know either the survivor heals very slow, or the survivor basically heals up. But during that time when they were like self-healing, they'll be on the ground, so you know, less likely of a chance they'll get up in 20 seconds after Tide Turner has ended, so less decoding time made by the survivors. And just cherry on top, if you did put on the rocket modification for the slow healing debuff, then you know that's also great for you as well. So Smiley Face does rely a lot on double hitting on chair instead of like Terror Shocking on chair. I think it's gonna be, it's very hard to Terror Shock on chair. It's very similar to Bane, but we'll move on to Bane next. So he does have good chase, he does have an okay camp, let's just say it's an okay camp. His map control isn't too bad, but his map controls rely a lot on his personal skills, which is why he is more fun to play compared to Ember, because like Smiley Face does have more things to utilize compared to Ember in early game to a certain extent. So yeah, that's Smiley Face for you. He is fun to play in my opinion. Basically the applicable tier, but fun to play. We're just making it a fun to play. Next on the tier list, we will have Gamekeeper. Gamekeeper will be also fun to play as well. Now, Gamekeeper has a very high chase and also can suffocate areas with his trap. Basically what this means is it's kind of the same as Smiley Face. Not as much will be bringing Flywheel. But for the case of Bane, if they do bring Flywheel and you manage to, you know, put a trap next to a window or a pallet and they don't have Flywheel, they basically have to take the trap. If they do have Flywheel, that's great on you. Why? Because this means that with your high chase ability, you can basically get to the survivors ASAP and get a hit on them, a really decent hit on them, like a decent hit on them, and then like you don't have a great camping ability, but you do have a little bit of camping ability, meaning that if you do manage to Terror Shock with your hook, great, but most of the time Survivor is able to bait it, just because if they stand next to the chair and then they just touch your chair and you throw your hook out, it'll just hit the chair, and when the survivor stops touching it, so oofus doofus moment to you. But overall, not too bad. Gamekeeper does counter Mercenary's Rescue to a certain extent with the Terror Shock, and also with the one hook and a normal hit, which means he can basically come rescue again, because he'll be on an instant down if he actually does that. So for Gamekeeper, it's not too bad. His map control is below average, very below average, but that's the case of the fact that he does have high chase. He can trap certain areas, so Survivor aren't allowed to use it unless they have Flywheel, but even if they do have Flywheel, they basically don't have palette speed buff, which is great. And his camp is okay, but he has no cipher control, no map control in general. He's still very fun to play though. I wouldn't really say a guaranteed tie. It really, like, he doesn't take 1k games to play and learn either, to like master him properly. But yeah, he's just very fun to play. Moving on, we will have Ripper. I will actually put Ripper ahead of Smiley Face and ahead of Gamekeeper. Now, the reason why Ripper is ahead of Smiley Face and ahead of Gamekeeper is because of the persona adjustments as well. Ripper can now run Max Hunt, can now run the charge attack speed buff, and can run basically, you know, it's basically a speedy buff build. Imagine a top-down build. You basically break pallets fast, you basically walk fast if you don't use your Foggy Blade, and for Ripper in general, his chase is very good. His Foggy Blade is mainly used in very tight areas in which it can go through walls, which is good for you if they're camping pallets. And then if it does hit the survivor as well, that's great. There's going to be a fog patch left behind on the survivor's trails in which you will be able to use to gain a mini movement speed buff to catch up to the survivors. So his chase is pretty decent. His camp is also decent enough. Very similar to Smiley Face's camp. You don't have a lot, but you do have some. Considering the fact that if you do manage to land the Foggy Blade, they can't rescue. But a lot of survivors usually, I would say, will or is able to manage or is able to dodge your Foggy Blade when coming to rescue. So yeah, with the likes of, you know, First Officer, Gamekeeper, Mercenary, Forward. So he does also rely on double hitting the rescuer whenever they come to gain a victory. He's very fun to play. Simply because of the fact that he moves very fast. So then, like, when you open phase 2, you're just basically speeding up the you're basically just speeding up the map. So yeah, there you go with that. He has no map control though. His map control basically comes from him roaming around the map, but that wastes too much time, which means there's no cipher control, meaning that he doesn't have map control. He also doesn't have cipher control. He has a good chase. He's an okay camp, but counterable. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you do manage to Foggy Blade hit a Gamekeeper who is in shovel and hit him again, that's a huge W for you. It's really just depending on person to person. I wouldn't say he takes 1k games to play as well, to, you know, fully master him, but I also wouldn't say that he's tie me to the moon tier, just because of the fact that there are a lot of survivors that counter him. For example, Antiquarian, Perfumer, just I think 70% of the survivor pool does counter him. Moving on, we will have Voileda. Voileda I think will still be tie me to the moon. Now, in regards for Voileda, you guys probably do know Fafa. Fafa has been streaming on Twitch lately and has been uploading on YouTube, so I do suggest you guys to go and check him out, and go and check him out. But Soul Weaver is still a guaranteed tie hunter. Tie me to the moon hunter. Now, there's two different types of Soul Weaver. In CN server, there's the Pro Soul Weavers and there is Ruon Soul Weaver. In NAU tier, there is the Pro Soul Weaver and there is Fafa Soul Weaver. So if you get my point, it's kind of just, if you do manage to play more than 1k games of Soul Weaver, she can probably definitely go up on niche, right? But that does require a lot of work compared to just learning Dream Witch, playing her for like 500 games and then she's still S tier. Compared to maybe Soul Weaver into play like 1k games, know how to like deal with map control, save treads, etc, etc. I'm going off topic, sorry. But moving on to the main thing, Soul Weaver is allowed to shop around to look for the survivor she wants to chase. Why? Because Soul Weaver relies on web threads the most, meaning that as long as Soul Weaver doesn't use her web threads while looking for survivors, by the time maybe 30 seconds has passed, she'll have around like 70 points of webs, maybe 60 seconds pass, she'll have 100 points of web threads, and per each web it's 15 points. Therefore, basically you do 3 in a row, that's 45, another 3 in a row, that's 45. Maybe you can save your blink, but if you don't save your blink, that's also fine as well. Now, why would Soul Weaver be tying me to the moon, you guys may wonder. Yes, she has a very good chase, but if the survivor decides to sell against a Soul Weaver, then there's no chance for a 3-man endgame, you see. That's the thing. Compared to everyone else in Fun to Play, Ripper, Smiley and Gamekeeper, if they do decide to sell against these type of hunters, survivor can always guarantee tie, sometimes even a 3-man escape. But for Soul Weaver, it's going to be a bit different. If you manage to get a survivor down within 60 seconds and they do decide to sell the survivor who is on chair, by the time that the survivor is gone who's on chair for 60 seconds, Soul Weaver will now have another extra 100 points of web threads, meaning, well, I mean, by the time that you go out to look for your second survivor and you found him, you probably have 120, right? Let's just be fair on that point. Like 1 web thread per second. So basically what this means is Soul Weaver can do like, let me count, 4, 8, 12 webs in a row to land 2 hits on a survivor. Meanwhile, either if she still has blink or not, it really just depends on the Soul Weaver whether she uses it or not. So for Soul Weaver, if you do sell against her, you're basically giving Soul Weaver a chance of immediately incapping a survivor within the next like 50 seconds after the survivor just flies away. And by the time that happens, your Cypher probably isn't enough anyways. So it's not that good for you, which is why Soul Weaver is still tie me to the moon, guaranteed tie. Even if they do decide to sell, it's still a guaranteed tie. Soul Weaver also does have a little bit of chair camp. If you've seen in tourney videos, basically you can time your presence at like 90%. Basically when you do a spit, you can spit again when you open phase 2 presence, and thus this leads to a double spit, meaning an instant fail rescue against a Soul Weaver, of course. So Soul Weaver does have a really decent chase. Selling against Soul Weaver is highly unlikely, like highly impossible for you to lose. Tie is almost always guaranteed, like 95% of the time, giving you the 5% of the time that survivors are just oofus doofus wowzers. But her map control isn't that good. I would say that her map control isn't that good, because survivors can also counter Soul Weaver by basically taking her webs and basically not allowing her to use it again. Let's say for example during tie time, take the webs and then down near somewhere a little bit further away from chair, so Soul Weaver will not have as much webs to use afterwards. But it's also the fact that Soul Weaver does counter harassers because she can cocoon immediately on the spot. So Soul Weaver is always a guaranteed tie for me, in my opinion. Not niche just yet because of the map control, but also she does require a lot of attention and, you know, grasps detail to detail on how to use her web threads properly, but she's definitely a guaranteed tie for me. Moving on, we will have Geisha. Geisha will be a part of niche tier. Geisha has high chase, Geisha has okay camp, Geisha also, well, Geisha's camp is a little bit below average, I'll be honest with you on that part. But Geisha has map control. She doesn't have Cypher control, but she does have map control. Now, why am I saying this? Geisha basically has, Geisha gains a butterfly every 15 seconds if I'm not wrong, but mark me if I'm wrong, but it's approximately 12 seconds to 15 seconds if I do remember correctly. Now, her butterfly dash is 8 seconds, and per every presence she gains, so first presence she gains is soul departure, so she can dash further away. Second presence is that she can dash faster. Now for Geisha, because of the fact that current day meta is based on, you know, toy merchant, patient, people who can basically create a lot of distance with you. For Geisha, as long as you're in a map without a lot of high walls, you can basically dash through the pallet instead of breaking them and get a hit on the survivors, which is really nice. Geisha can also be paired with the charge attack speed boost as well, in which I've seen a lot of Geisha mains being using, which actually does work pretty darn well on Geisha. She has a very nice chase. Her camp is okay, a little bit below average if I would say so myself, because her camp is basically a soul departure hit. Soul departure, no attack recovery hit, which I think is a little bit hard to, you know, grasp at the first time. But because of her chase, because of her very high chase ability compared to every other hunter else in our current category as of now, Geisha is pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Right, so like we can take example for, you know, a toy merchant in Chinatown or in Leo's memory. One catapult goes up to her second story, a Geisha soul departure goes up to the second story immediately instead of hunters needing to like go up the stairs, etc., take the long way, etc., etc. And also the fact that she also moves very fast. Like her chase is fast, but not, I wouldn't say faster than Ripper when he opens his phase 2 presence, but very fast compared to Ripper during early game. Now, of course, for Geisha mains, she's niche because of the fast downs that you can do with Geisha, but also with the, you know, different types of hunter traits you can bring. You can either bring excitement, blink, teleport, or abnormal, compared to Soul Weaver, in which a lot just basically bring, you know, blink, which, you know, is fair with you. But Geisha, you can run pretty darn quite a lot with it. Aside from that fact though, because of the fact that if you Taikai her now, she wouldn't really counter you unless you grab onto the butterfly, but then again that's a different story, which is why a lot of Geisha mains currently bring Blink as well, just in case they get a first hit and then Survivor get the butterfly. Well, you know what, it's fine. Who cares? The fact that Geisha can also dash through walls if she can see the butterflies, you know, through the wall, I think that's very decent as well. Just, you know, another thing about her chase as well, her chase is so high, so like, it's very hard to suppress a good Geisha's chase. Very hard to suppress a good Geisha's chase. If you have seen Koth, I think just by looking at how he plays, you basically know what I mean. Or even Face Hour from CN server. So yeah, that's my opinion on Geisha. Moving on, we will have Woo Woo. Woo Woo will also be fun to play. Wouldn't require as much. Wouldn't require as much. No, I'm sorry. Woo wouldn't require as much training or as much games to play to master him, because the main things you need to know in lower tier from tier 1 to tier 6, which is basically Cyclops, is spawn location, learning off the spawn location, and then in tier 7 it just gets a little bit harder for you to manage to ambush someone because they know where you spawn, etc, etc. Now, reason why Woo Woo is fun to play is one of the reasons that I just said over there about the spawn selection as well. Like spawn selection in tier 7 plus, and then like learning off the spawn points. Woo has high chase, but his high chase is based off ambushing. So that's a whole completely different story. So Woo Woo can ambush, but Woo Woo has no chase. Which means early game you need to get a hit in straight away after you teleport, or else you're basically kind of screwed in a nutshell. A lot of Woo Woo mains, what they do is they manage to get an ambush first hit and then wait like 20 seconds or 30 seconds later until their phase 1 presence is open. By the time that it's opened, they'll be in black form and they can use Bell to immediately down the survivor. If not, then they will either blink and then blink down them basically. Woo requires a lot of learning, but not more than Ember in my opinion, because as long as you grasp the concept of being able to open phase 1 presence fast and early, that's all what it matters to Woo, to be honest. Because after your phase 1 has been open, you can either Soul Siphon to close distance, and then White Woo, as we all know, that darn long hitbox, and then Black Woo, that darn fast hitbox, and of course the Bell. It basically helps Woo Chan a lot after you know how to open phase 1. And then phase 2 is basically the white form is soul siphoning in area, so then they can't touch pallets, etc, etc. They can't vault, they can't do any interaction, they can't rescue as well, which is very nice for him. That's where his chase comes in, similar to every other hunter here, but her early game really darn matter. Really darn matter. Compared to, if we compare Woo Woo with all the Thai hunter and the niche hunter right now, you can definitely stand against a Woo Woo. Just have either a Merc crouch near a Woo Woo, or like you can do a before half rescue, and by the time you chair the survivor back onto chair again, probably there's 2 ciphers remaining, I'll be honest with you on that part, and then sell afterwards. So Woo Woo, it really depends. He's definitely very fun to play, but he's not a guaranteed tie as of now. He definitely could be more when you master him more, but in high tier gameplays, for me personally, I think he's more fun to play than a guaranteed tie me to the moon. He has bad chase early game. His chase is unbelievably good, but for early game where it matters the most, it's very bad. He has no camp. I'll be honest, I don't think his camp gets countered way too hard. Way too hard by survivors with the likes of Merc Forward, First Officer, Gravekeeper, Patient, even Magician, let's say, Antiquarian as well, any stunners who can cancel Soul Siphon, any distance creating survivors like Patient with a hook, Toy Merchant with a catapult, etc, etc. So he has not that much of a good chase, he doesn't have that much of a good camp, but as long as you open phase 1, those will definitely go up, but that really depends on you. But he's still very fun to play, Moving on, we will have Joseph. I am going to put Joseph Photographer on Fun to Play, but very low. Very, 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 very low. Photographer is going to be stooped very low. Reason being the fact that the only way for a photo to win is he either picks up a survivor who has been encapped on the ground within 2 cameras. So with your first camera, you basically deal damage to the survivors, you chair someone, and then you basically have to either find a one or an instant blink down the next. He has no chase, he has no camp, he has map control, he has cipher control, but that only comes from the camera, and those two don't really matter. Those two don't really matter, the map control and the cipher control, when accelerated decoding comes out. Brewing effect is also a problem for Joseph Ming's spawn selection. Also kind of a small problem for Joseph Mains, because survivors know where each other spawns. Whoever gets hit first in camera world can basically go away, or the other 4 survivors can immediately rotate towards that survivor, towards that survivor who has been kitted and who is about to be chaired, and immediately 3-person healing 1, yaddy yaddy do. Joseph couldn't find whoever was on the ground, and they force a blink, chair it, do a normal rescue, and a rebound kite, no problem. I think that's the biggest problem for Joseph as well. If you don't manage to get someone on chair within 2 cameras, it's going to be very hard for you to win, but he's still very fun to play. Maybe he's like maybe 500 games in, and then you're getting the hang of it, you're starting to tie, you're starting to win, etc, etc. But in higher tiers where there's like, in tourneys let's say, where there's like 4-man teams, oh, that is going to be so darn hard for you. He relies a lot on luck on one aspect, and the other aspect is basically skill and map and awareness. As I've said as well, no camp, no chase, decent map control, decent cipher control. His chase basically comes with his blink and when he opens his phase 2, which is very important. If survivor hides well, you're kind of scooting away. But of course, with area spawn selection as well, there is some spawns for Jojo mains in which you can instant camera the moment you get in, because the camera is literally right next to you. For example, in Ever Sleeping Town near Schoolgate, if you choose that spawn, then the camera spawns literally 1 centimeter or 1 inch next to you. Or let's say in Red Church near the dead corner with like the very short but breakable walls near Shack, you can basically instant camera there as well. That's another camera location place, and for everywhere else I don't know, I only know those 2. So yeah, he's gonna be definitely very fun to play. Probably will be 1k game, probably will be like 500 games later until you start winning, tying your current in like maybe Griffin, Unicorn, etc, your survivor rank. But yeah, that is it for Photographer. Moving on, we will have Mad Eyes. To be fair with you, I know, Mad Eyes has been ranked with a 70% win rate in CN server in peak tier. Now, with those of you who are gonna argue that Mad Eyes is S tier, you're not wrong, but probably like 2000 games later. Like, okay, you know what? Minimum is 1k games later. On average, probably 2.5k games later, he's gonna be S tier. Because all the peak tier Mad Eyes in CN server has been playing Mad Eyes non-stop, and there's definitely like 2k games in per each Mad Eyes main in peak tier in that CN server. He's very hard to play, he has no chase, very bad chase, he has good map control, which comes with good cipher control, which comes with good camp, but also that good camp can be countered if you have a good random that knows that you need to go into the chair early and force him to use his fences, so then like it wouldn't be an after half rescue and not give a free hit and then fail rescue. Of course, if you know what I mean, looking at any survivor sometimes, but like looking at randoms, I mean in general. But like, yeah, he has no chase, he has good map control, he has good cipher control, which comes with the map control, he has decent camp, but without the chase, what are you gonna do? Nothing much. You can't do much. You really can't do much. You can like his battery, his big consoles can also get countered by survivors too. Survivor can just like yeet it. It's going ham on the console, putting the fences up, blocking your way when you're chasing a survivor. Imagine that, and then you're gonna be like, oh my god, I need to vault over these, which wastes time. Yeah, so you gotta be a good Mad Eyes main. Because like the scenario I gave you is when you basically got a survivor down really late, and for good Mad Eyes main, they get survivors down like with blink or within blink time. So that's gonna be really hard to achieve for us as of now. But yeah, he does take a lot of games to play until you can make him S tier, just like any other hunter here, to be honest with you. But also he does get countered by harassers. Just imagine Antiquarian, Acrobat with Fireball, Forward, Prospector, Batter, all this kind of jazz. Priestess also does counter him, surprisingly. If you do know, Priestess can basically portal through defenses. I think she definitely can. I genuinely think she definitely can. So yeah, he is 1k games later. Of course, anyone can master any hunter on this tier list, but it's going to be very darn hard. Okay, moving on, we will have Feaster. Feaster will also be fun to play. I'm not putting him on tie guarantee, considering the fact that it's very rare that someone fails rescue against a Feaster, current day meta, GK, first officer, mercenary. You can't fail rescue against it. You can't fail rescue. For Feaster, he has decent chase. Does he have decent chase? I think he has. He doesn't have a good chase. His chase is below average. His camp is not above Bonbon, but not below Sculptor. Around the same level as Sculptor, maybe a little bit below Sculptor, considering the fact that if he opens phase 2, he can basically double tentacle away for the camp. But it's also very counterable for Feaster mains. Feaster in general, he doesn't have good chase, but he does have map control. But his map control doesn't come with a good cipher control. His cipher control is very close to none. His map control is good though, because if you put a tentacle in between pallets, survivors will be very scared to go through that pallet. And including the fact that he's not 1k games later now because of the persona nerf, in which not a lot of survivors are playing flywheel, which counters Feaster's tentacle, which I think, you know, is great that Feaster is more viable now. It's more of the fact that it's very counterable. It's still very counterable. For Feaster, he doesn't have good chase, but if we give all the scenario we could right here, it would be the fact that Patroller Feaster is more popular nowadays with the, you know, the bite, the hit, the tentacle hit, and then the normal hit. So Feaster isn't too bad when it comes to chase, but you can sell against a Feaster, which also comes in to like this play as well, with the no cipher control at all, with all these hunters in fun to play except for Photo, because Photo relies a little bit more on luck than skill, in my opinion, personally speaking. Feaster, relatively okay, but failing rescue against a Feaster, I think, is a little bit higher compared to the other hunters. It is a little bit higher for you to fail rescue against a Feaster, considering the fact that a Feaster can just come out, give you a hit, attack recovery done, and then there's a tentacle near the chair. Oh, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna rescue? If you're gonna rescue, you're gonna get slapped, boy! So yeah, that's literally me on Feaster. Can I give you much? I can't really give you much, because like he has a below average chase, he does have map control, but that doesn't come in with cipher control. His camp is relatively good, but not the, well, we can't really compare the Bonbon with everything, to be fair with you on that part. But like his camp is also counterable as well. I think way easier to counter. Way easier to counter compared to Bonbon putting down bombs, but less easier to counter compared to Sculptor placing down statues. For Feaster, I think his main play really comes with camping. If he wants to earn more, either that the Survivor Cipher wasn't enough because of early game, which leads to, you know, you getting really early down, or they just don't know what the survivors were doing, or you get a double down, or you fail rescue, or get a double down on chair. Cause like for Feaster, the problem with Feaster's camp is the moment that the tentacle comes down and it hits you, the survivor can instant rescue. They can, because there's an animation for Feaster, and so Feaster does have this type of animation in which the moment that the tentacle comes down is the moment that the survivor rescues, and you can basically attack. Right, I think that's the problem. When you attack, you want the focus is on the rescuer, so then like they'll be down on the ground. But also when they're down on the ground, do you have tentacles to down the survivor who was on chair? There's still a high chance for survivor who, you know, is able to rebound kite you when they down early, right? Because they definitely didn't use all their items, unless it is a decoder, of course. But that also comes with the play of there is still a high chance that survivor can rebound kite you. Sadly, it is the case. So yeah, for Feaster, he's more fun to play than Tie Guarantee for me. Reason being, he's not like guarantee fail rescue. He's more like the double hit the rescuers, but not fail rescue. So you can basically double hit the hunter. After a tide ends, the rescuer will be on the ground, self-healing, and then the survivor, if you do manage to hit him, great, the game's on your side. But if you don't manage to hit him, oh, you're screwed. Oh, you're screwed. You're gonna get rebound kited so darn hard, which sucks. Moving on, we'll have Dreamwitch! Dreamwitch is still Dreamwitch and friends, but does Dreamwitch have friends? It is a good question. But yeah, I think Dreamwitch will just remain there. I genuinely think Dreamwitch will just remain there for now. Dreamwitch doesn't have good chase. Dreamwitch have below average chase, below average camp, very high map control, very high cipher control as well, which comes along with the map control. If you do manage to leech on a survivor and they can't dispel their leech, they basically can't decode their cipher, or they need to get a normal hit. I think even if you do give the normal hit, I think it's going to be fine as well, because they either need to heal up, or if they don't heal up, what will happen is you'll basically chase after them next, after you chair the survivor who was on chair, return to the main, or XYZ. Dreamwitch does get countered though, but let's buy Barmaid now. And also with Dreamwitch's new buff, she can go through she can go through Priestess's portals, which I do think really helps out as Dreamwitch. Because if the main body goes through the portal, then the leech will definitely have to follow her, right? So, kind of makes sense in a certain way. But with the fact that Dreamwitch mains do use Patroller, main body or follower, you can almost guarantee it down at 70 seconds into the game if you do utilize it properly, like utilize it normally, not like utilizing well, sandwiching and then main body patroller, but just normally putting 2 patrollers down. You should be able to get a survivor down within 70 seconds of the game. That should guarantee you the tie. But with good Dream Witches, they will go out, leech to the survivor, double hit the rescuer, and then proceed to do a double chair, because they can immediately switch to blink, immediately down who was on chair, and voila, you're basically kind of screwed if that actually happened. If that doesn't happen, then Dream Witch will start fully map controlling. For example, whichever rescuer she leeched onto, the rescuer's leech will follow back to the rescuer, and then the rescuer can't decode his cipher. He has to either deleech, or if he doesn't have the deleech, he either has to heal or somehow get the deleech. Right, so like against a Dream Witch, you need a lot of preparation, you need a lot of good communication to win against them. But winning rank, and as we've seen in tourneys, Dream Witch does have, like, you know, that pressure to pressure the survivors to play very perfect and safe. If you don't do that, you're basically gonna fail against a Dream Witch. You can't really win against a Dream Witch that well. And of course, late game Dream Witch, imagine 3 followers on the field, 1 at each gate, 1 blink down and an immediate chair, and then another one on the opposite side of the gate, another blink down, and then use your main body to get there, and then leech, and then chair. Voila, very well done. So yeah, Dream Witch has like early game, she also does have late game, she also does have map control in between, but a lot of the Dream Witch's win comes with mid game, with the map control, cipher control, leeching, chairing, hitting, double hitting, etc. So yeah, Dream Witch will always be a part of Dream Witch and Friends. Being that there's a lot of survivors that counter Axeboy. I wouldn't put in on niche because his chase isn't bad. His chase is a little bit above average. Of course, it gets better as he opens more presence. It becomes unbelievably insane. But that's only if the survivor gives you the chance to open phase 2. So keep that in mind. Axeboy does have map control, but he doesn't have cipher control. His map control is great when opening phase 2, and of course he can traverse around the map pretty darn fast when he opens phase 1, because you know, with the resentful road and with the fireballs, you can go through maps so darn fast, wee, just like that. But for Axeboy, he has decent chase, he has decent camp, I would say decent camp, because there's a higher chance of you landing a fire orb if you put a resentful road down and gain the speed boost, and then like play around with the survivor mind game, pull the fireball orb in while you're on the resentful road to gain the speed boost, so you can guarantee yourself that fireball will land. So his camp is definitely still very decent, his map control is definitely still very decent. Not a lot of survivors bring flywheel as much anymore, so it's gonna be very rare for Axeboy to see a flywheel survivor. Even if there is a flywheel survivor, there's gonna be a lot of fireballs near the survivor, so there's still a chance for Axeboy to land the second or the third fireball. and then immediately blink down. So that's a guaranteed 60-second kite against an Axeboy, to be honest with you. Unless you're an anti-Quarian, but that's anti-Quarian, let's be honest with ourselves on that part. Scary. So yeah, Axeboy would be tying me to the moon. When he opens phase 2, I think it'll get easier for him with the map control and stuff, and with landing the fire orb and stuff. But of course, he is still counterable when you break the trees when he gets near you, because you can just leave the trees at 99% dismantling, and then when you basically get your heartbeat, immediately dismantle a tree. No fire orbs near you, yay! But also to counter Axeboy, harassers are annoying, very annoying. With the likes of Prospector, Enchantress, Batter, Forward, even with Mischievous, I think it'll be a little bit annoying to deal with as well. But of course, good Axeboy mains know how to deal against them with the use of his very speedy, resentful road and fire orbs. It shouldn't be too much of a problem, but I think it still will. Moving on, we will have Lizard. Evil Reptilian will also be fun to play. Where would I put Evil Reptilian? I think I'll put Evil Reptilian behind Gamekeeper, but in front of Joseph, because Evil Reptilian do rely more on skill. There's literally no luck on Evil Reptilian. Evil Reptilian has good chase, high chase, good chase, high chase, around that area of a chase. His camp is okay, counterable, but if Survivor make the mistake, you can basically immediately double down or fail rescue, which does happen quite a bit. And his map control is okay. His map control is below average, I'll give you that. His map control is below average because he depends on energy to traverse around the map, but he has no cipher control, which comes to the play of if the Survivor do sell, you're not always a guaranteed tie, just because, you know, imagine there was a patient on chair. No, that's not a good one. Patient wouldn't be on chair that fast because of his hooks. Imagine there's a psychologist on chair and there's a patient, Prospector 4 remaining on the field. They sell, there's 2 ciphers remaining, and they open the gates, and you're basically trying to catch up to this like patient, but then he hooks away, and then 3-man escape or dungeon, which is very scary. Dungeons are very scary. So yeah, I think it's not always a guaranteed tie for Evil Reptilian. If he is, I will definitely put him up there, but for me he's not really. Compared to Axeboy and Soul Weaver, where they basically, Soul Weaver just wait for web threads to immediately down someone, so they can't really tie kite you or anything. Or Axeboy with the double speed boost and the map control, it's very hard to get dungeon against an Axeboy, I'll be honest with you on that part. So yeah, Evil Reptilian does require a lot of time invested in to play him very well, but of course that means that you have to invest time in it. So yeah, that's basically it for Evil Reptilian, to be honest with you. His jumps aren't bad, but it does rely on energy, so he doesn't have that much of a good map control. His chase is okay because early game, like, he'll gain his points, but like also he won't just like use it randomly for map control. He uses it to chase, but he wouldn't use it for map control. If it's an Evil Reptilian that wants a map control around the map because of the ciphers, then I think it's going to be a little bit harder because you are basically using your points up and it's not regenerating or replenishing fast enough for you to map control. Moving on, we'll have BQ. BQ will be niche now. I'm gonna put BQ ahead of Geisha. Now, I'm gonna base this off good BQs in which they land their mirrors. BQ will always be a guaranteed tie if they land all their mirrors. That's only if they land all their mirrors. No, BQ will be a guaranteed tie if you land one mirror and then like get a blink. Right, that's BQ. She's gonna be a guarantee if you land the mirror or get a blink. So BQ's chase is high with mirror, but BQ's chase is low without mirror. So BQ's chase is average. I would say maybe every 25 seconds you'll have a mirror. With the benefit of the doubt, I think it's 30, but I'm gonna say 25. Every 25 seconds you're gonna have a mirror. So within 50 seconds you can basically save blink when downing Survivor. Now BQ is not Dream Witch and Friends because of the fact that, you know, Patient exists, Psychologist exists, Triple Hit. Who else exists? That pulls distance, Magician, but like Magician really doesn't do much against good BQs. Who else is there? Little girl, not too much. Priestess, we ban Priestess, so she's not there. And then Seer, yeah, we don't talk about Seer, we ban him as well. So yeah, for BQ, if you do manage to land all your mirrors, like even if you take a 10-second gap between your mirrors. That's okay, as long as you land them, it's always a guaranteed tie for you. There's a blink for the definite guaranteed tie right there. It's also the fact that BQ can use mirrors during detention time, so then like they can't really contain as much because, you know, of the fact that mirror equals to detention hit equals to 1 hit down equals to wow. So yeah, for BQ it's a niche. She doesn't have she has map control every 25 seconds. She has map control every 25 seconds, but like during that time of the map control, she can somehow or sometimes guarantee a hit with the mirror. If the BQ knows what she's doing, of course, when they're decoding Cypher, BQ mirrors out. Oh, Survivor's near a Cypher. Hit, boom, half-health Survivor. Nice, I'm map controlling right now. I'm also Cypher controlling, but every 25 seconds. So let's just say map control is a little bit below average or just average. No, you know what? No, let's say below average. So yeah, she doesn't have any camp though, and it's gonna be very hard for you to double hit rescuers, in my opinion. But like, you definitely can double hit rescuers because there's no way survivors can rebound Kaichi because of mirror. So yeah, BQ is niche to me. And along with the persona buffs as well, persona nuff on the survivor and persona buff on the hunters. Very rarely you'll see flywheel anymore, unless maybe a batter you'll see a flywheel, forward you'll see a flywheel. But if they don't have flywheel, they don't have pallet or window speed boost, which means they can't really counter you with speed buffs, in which that means that you can almost always land your mirrors because they don't have that speed buff to basically cancel your mirrors. So yeah, that's that for BQ. Moving on, we will have Bomb Bomb. Bomb Bomb will be Bomb Bomb will be Tie Me to the Moon. Bomb Bomb will be Tie Me to the Moon. Bomb Bomb is very similar to Voyleda. Bomb Bomb is definitely allowed to shop for a little bit before he gets his 6 stacks. So Bomb Bomb can basically shop for 30 seconds and then get his 6 stacks and then land 2 perfect chain bombs and then immediately down a survivor with blink. It's also the fact that Bomb Bomb can counter forward, which I think is great. He can't counter Prospector or Antiquarian as well, because Antiquarian does counter Bomb Bomb when she swings. I'm scared. But like overall, because of the fact that Bomb Bomb's bombs are easier to land, Bomb Bomb's bombs are easier to land compared to like everyone else. Bomb Bomb's bombs are easier to land compared to everyone else. Like Sculptor, you can't land it in open areas. You can't land your chips in open areas unless you open phase 2. But Bomb Bomb, on the other hand, is an AoE damage hunter. He doesn't have good chase, but he does have very high map control with the bombs. Very mini cipher control depending on where he chairs the survivors, and basically yeah, he relies a lot on camping, to be fair. Like you can, like a lot of in ranks now, basically rescuing against a bombman is so hard unless you're a merc. Really dire hard unless you're a merc. As I was saying, his chase is a little bit below average, but like when the map control comes in which he puts a bomb down to like lock your pallet area or your window area, I think that sucks a lot, right? Which is why like his chase isn't too bad, but his chase is not that good either. Let's be honest with you on that part. You can definitely guarantee tie against a Bomb Bomb if you decide to sell, is what I think. But if you do decide to sell, you have the fact that the Bomb Bomb will immediately change to teleport and then land 2 perfect chain bombs and then get you down immediately. Or with the fact that if you come to rescue, you'll basically be looking at a carpet of red or a carpet of yellow, and you basically have to dodge all those. So that's a lot of pressure on you for the rescue, ain't it, boy? So yeah, Bomb Bomb is a guaranteed tie, I think, as long as you land your bombs properly. Even if you don't land your bombs, I feel like let's say you miss 2 chain bombs, that's okay, it's still a guaranteed tie, as long as you land the other 2 chain bombs, because like within 60 seconds you gain 10 bombs. You gain 10 bombs, right? But you don't stack 10, you only stack 6, so you do have to use like 4 bombs before you get your 10 bombs. But like you can definitely guarantee either a triple chain bomb to guarantee the first chip, and then another triple chain bomb to guarantee the next chip, and then a blink down. So I think Guard 26 is not too bad overall, unless they pull distance against you, then that definitely does hurt. But of course, your next point comes in with the cipher control, with your remote control bomb, or even with your time bomb, and then the camp. He doesn't have good chase, which means he doesn't have that much of a good map control. His map control is very low, similar to his cipher control. but he's still definitely a very tieable hunter. Very tieable hunter. Moving on, we will have Anne. Anne will be the highest in Tie Me to the Moon. Anne is on the moon. She is on the moon. Anne is on the moon. And you're allowed to miss 2 cats as Anne. You're allowed to miss 2 cats as Anne. If you can at least land 1 cat, get a hit, you can blink down and everything comes afterwards. Anne has a high chase and has decent, and I do mean it, Anne has decent camp. She has no map control. No, she has a little bit of map control. When you put the cats out and you put a cross on the cipher and then explode the cipher, if the survivor is near the cipher and they get exploded, they can't decode. So that's your mini map control right there. Well, mini cipher control right there. But very little map control, like little map control and little cipher control. That's that for Anne. She's basically a guaranteed tie as long as you can land 1 cat and then blink down. Right, I think, like, cause like, you need to think about it this way, right? If you pull the cat out and then you jump immediately and then you explode the cat, it's an immediate 8-second cooldown. Unlike BQ, you have to wait until your mirror is gone. So Anne is at least tie me to the moon. Yeah, Anne is at least tie me to the moon. If you fail the first cat, no problem, jump immediately, explode. 8 seconds later, next clash. So like within 60 seconds, you can get at least 4 cats out minimum. Land the hit and then blink down, because blink is 65 seconds. And if we just take into the fact that you're gonna waste, like, you're not wasting, you're using 50 seconds per cat, that's fine. You know what, that's fine. It's not too bad. 45 seconds or even 60 seconds into the game, you get a hit, you blink down. Oh, that's no problem. Your next winnable point, or even the next play, if you want to win, is they have to fail a rescue or a double down. Which I mean, Anne does a good job at this. Anne's camp is not as good as Bonbon's, but if you time it well, if you know how to play Anne and time it well, you can definitely do it almost every darn game. Almost every darn game, unless it's a Merc, then that's a whole different story, but you know what I mean. Moving on, we will have Violinist. A lot of people did tell me Violinist is more of a fun to play than a guaranteed tie, because unlike BQ can basically go through walls with mirrors, but for me, I still think Violinist is a guaranteed tie. Violinist doesn't have good chase, but a lot of Violinists do rely on peepers early game more than blink. Most of them, to be fair with you, unless like there's no high walls. But I think the thing with Violinist mains is they mainly use their strings in between pallets. So then like you put 1 string behind the pallet. If they do dare to go through the pallet, you put a string down, they get their chip immediately, or you can hit the survivor and then you blink them down or wait for next string. He's a guaranteed tie because of that, in my opinion. He doesn't have good chase because he does rely on strings, but like his camp is good. After phase 2 has opened, his camp is definitely very good, and when phase 1 has opened, he does have map control as well with the swings, with basically the instrument swings. Whenever you land 1 on a survivor, their decoding reduces by like 3%, I think, and then when you land 3, it reduces by 9%, I think. He does have map control. No, he does have cipher control. He doesn't have map control. He has very good camp, very similar to Axeboy in my opinion. But I guess for most people, it's really just a problem with his cooldown. It's similar to BQs. You can't just cancel it and immediately go into cooldown reduction. So yeah, but like to me, he's still tie guarantee. Maybe he's fun to play. Maybe he's actually supposed to be fun to play. But for me, I feel like just, you know, high tier Violinist in general. If you lock a window, it's almost a guarantee hit, always. If you lock a pallet, maybe not. Maybe not always guaranteed, because you can basically maneuver around the pallet to dodge the strings. But a window, you always jump in the middle of the window, right? You can't jump by the side of the window. It's always in the middle. So I feel like he can definitely be utilized way more. He does have that map control. He does have that double hit on the chair camp. He does have a decent chair camp. He may not have, you know, such a good, let's say, chase or such a good map control, but he does have cipher control and camp. So I think it's a props up to him for Violinist. He's a timing to the moon, in my opinion. Moving on, Sculptor is not doing much on friends. Okay, hear me out. I'm a Gala main. Hear me out. Sculptor, it's very hard to win. It's very hard to win for Sculptor. It's genuinely very hard to win for Sculptor. But personally speaking, a lot of things from like a lot of Sculptor statue, like to counter Sculptor, you just basically create distance and then you can't land chips. That's it. That's it. If you create the distance, you can't land chips. That's it. Easy. Very easy to counter Sculptor. Same as Bonbon. But Bonbon can land bombs easier than Sculptor. Landing chips. Landing statues. Difference with Bonbon and Sculptor. Sculptor has map control. Sculptor can basically block pallet areas, window areas. So like either if you decide to go through the pallet, I put a statue down, you get a hit, or you get a hit and a chip. If you don't get a chip, you at least almost always guarantee a chip, a hit. And then with the chisel, you basically lock a cipher for 15 seconds, which I think is great to a certain extent. Sculptor's phase 2 is very scary. Very scary. Sculptor's map control is scary. Sculptor's map control and cipher control is darn scary, I would say. Well, maybe not phase 1, but like when Presence 2 opens, then it's definitely very scary. Sculptor, because of Sculptor's bad chase, you're heavily relied on your chips, your normal first hit chips. If not, then it really depends on how you like break the distance between you and the survivor. For example, getting chips on windows or getting chips on pallets. But of course, survivor can always counter that. But you know, where Sculptor means, I guess. We have a lot to utilize. Sculptor's camp is also very strong. So you have a Sculptor with bad chase, but Sculptor's has a very good camp. Not better than Bonbon, but good. So if let's say if Bonbon's camp was exceptional, Sculptor's camp would be above average. Sculptor has basically a chisel which stays for 12 seconds, disturbs decoding for 12 seconds. Great. Her camp is scary. I think not scarier than Bonbon's, but because of the fact that the statues does come back to chip, hunters can't just think, oh, statues are gone, well, time for me to rescue, when they actually get chipped and then chipped for the second time, and then maybe a merc chipped for the third time and a hit, and then oh, boo boo, you're gone. So yeah, I think like Sculptor's win condition is like if you get a very early hit on Sculptor, you know, if you get a very good early down on Sculptor when you haven't even used Blink, your win rate, the percentage in which you're gonna win is 70, right? If they do sell, it'll go down to 50 because you have to find the next survivor. But like their cipher wouldn't be decoded as much because you have chisel, which disturbs cipher for 12 seconds with a 15-second cooldown, which I think is fine. But like yeah, so like when you go out to look for the second chase, if you still have Blink, then that's fine. You can get a normal hit or even chip and then blink down immediately. So then like maybe the last cipher isn't ready yet, you can use your statues to, you can use your chisel and statues to like lock the cipher a little bit, which is, I think it's great. But if they do manage to kite you, I guess it's still gonna be a guarantee tie to a certain extent, because of the fact that you can suffocate them in one area and then chip them down ASAP instead of landing that hit. Now, speaking of that as well, there's like Sculptor statues counter a lot of survivors if you know how to counter it. I probably should make a video on it, but you can basically counter almost every survivor as Sculptor. Aside from like mainly, I would say Prospector, Forward, Wildling to a certain extent. You can counter, let me just look at survivors. You can counter Cordy, you can counter Cowboy, you can counter Perfumer, Seer, not Ench, not Prospector, yes, you can counter Barmaid, you can counter First Officer, you can counter Gravekeeper, you can counter Ento, Painter as well, because if you chisel on the painting, you won't basically get stunned, but you know what, that's another thing. So yeah, Sculptor can also counter a lot of hot survivors, to be honest with you, a good Sculptor of course. So Sculptor is very low niche. Low niche. So yeah, she's probably fun to play, I won't lie with you, but I'm gonna put her on low niche. Moving on, we will have Undead. Undead is fun to play. Yeah, Undead is fun to play. I don't think Undead requires as much game time, as much games to master. But for Undead, because of the fact that in current day meta, Prosy, Forward, Batter is the current day meta, you don't really have to worry about getting stunned or whatnot, because you know 50 energy equals to when you basic attack or when you charge attack hits, you don't get stunned, XYZ. But also with the Persona buff as well, it basically improves his tie kite chase. So you can't really tie kite an Undead as much anymore when he has the charge attack speed boost. His charge attack lasts like 3 seconds or 4 seconds. But I'm gonna say 4 seconds because the swing animation also is a little bit of time, so 4 seconds, which means he gains an 8% speed boost in that 4 seconds. Ooh, can you pull that much distance? Like, that 8% speed boost really does help. It really does help. It's scary. So yeah, I think Undead is more fun to play now than 1k games later. Of course, what a lot of Undead mains do in current day is they use their high chase, get someone down fast, and then use their high chase again and then get someone down for the second time fast. If the survivor do self-heal, the survivor will be outlined and immediately teleport back towards the survivor, hit the survivor second down. Very nicely done. But of course, that's only when you get at least like 250 to 300, 400 games in, which is why he's more fun to play compared to 1k games later or timey to win. He wouldn't really be timey to win because if you don't manage to hit someone within 60 seconds, you're kind of screwed. You're kind of screwed because the ciphers are almost done by that point. Not gonna lie, blink time is your like line of saying, okay, if I want to guarantee tie, I need to blink someone down. 65 seconds, 70 seconds. That's your downtime for survivor. If they kite longer, then oh, you're screwed. There's gonna be so many people coming at your backs trying to harass and body block. So yeah, Undead will be fun to play. He has high chase, he has decent map control, he has no cypher control and no camp. Moving on, let me see. Pollen will be part of Dream Witch and Friends. He will be. Okay then, why will Pollen be a part of Dream Witch and Friends? Pollen has high chase, Pollen has okay camp. Right, Pollen has okay camp, keep that in mind, the okay camp. But his chase is at the highest of now against any other hunter, even better than Dream Witch. Better chase than Dream Witch, better chase than Geisha or BQ. He's counterable of course, but it's not that easy to counter on good Pollen. Right? Because of the persona, survivor persona debuff with the flywheel one, if the survivor do bring flywheel, there won't be pallet speed boost. So even if someone vaults the pallet, Pollen can put a trap down and then like slow the survivor down or even stun the survivor and then get a hit on a survivor and then change the wheel form and then do your 2 spikes and then snap down immediately. That's going to be very well done by Pollen, right? Because of the fact that flywheel is currently gone, if survivors do use, Pollen can basically predict whether you flywheel or not just by looking if you vault when you vault a pallet. Oh, is there speed boost? Oh, no speed boost. That's okay. You flywheel. You know what? That's fine. I'm gonna try to emote you with the Thanos snap. And oh, you're gonna flywheel. Very nice. Snap you down. Bye bye. You're gone. And with the blink as well, like blink Pollens, we know are always a guarantee 60-second down. When Pollen 60 seconds down, it's not a guarantee tie. It's like it's a guarantee tie if he stays near chair. But like a lot of Pollens would just change the wheel form, go out, look for rescuers, get 1 spike on rescuers, come back immediately, and then put a trap down. And then when the trap goes down, sometimes it's after rescue, after half rescue, sometimes it's like a normal hit rescue. But when the Pollen hits the survivor who is on chair again after rescue, and it'll be a phase 2 open. Phase 2 Pollen, oh scary! Imagine a phase 2 Pollen. Imagine kiting a phase 2 Pollen. 1 spike, immediately change. 2 spikes, immediately either blink or, immediately blink or trap and then get you down. He can slug you for the 4k. Oh, we have seen so many of Alexis's slugs as Pollen. Pollen is back to meta now because of the debuff. Because of the fact that you can't bring like pallet speed boost anymore with flywheel. If you just bring flywheel, your kiting ability goes down drastically, in my opinion. Especially against a Pollen. Kiting a Pollen with traps basically slows you down. Not that much of a good idea, I won't lie with you. The most you can do is blink predict the flywheel, or even blink predict the blink, or even flywheel the traps. But after that, you're gone. You're gone. So yeah, Pollen has high map control, high chase, okay cypher control I guess, but no camp. Well, his camp a little bit with the traps. Put a trap down, wait 5 seconds, they take it, put another trap down. Oh, it's after half, nice, pew, instant half rescue. Oops, I hit on my mic. So yeah, Pollen is doing much on friends now. Moving on, let's see who's next. Moving on, Wax Artist. Wax Artist is niche. Niche. So Wax Artist is now currently niche. Wax Artist has an inbuilt 10% stone recovery. Beautiful. So he basically counters harassers to a certain extent. Now, why is Wax Artist niche? It's also because of the fact that you can't have pallet window speed boost. It's also because of the fact that you can't have pallet speed boost when you have flywheel. So if the survivor do bring flywheel or flywheel your wax, you probably do know that they have flywheel as well, because when they vault a window or a pallet, they don't get any speed boost, so you can basically bait out the flywheel. Or if they do have it, land your 100% wax, get a normal hit, land your next 100% wax, or just blink down immediately. Guarantee tie right there. Wax Artist can also lock ciphers from very far away with either his with either his shooting ability or just with the blob in general, the phase 1 blob, just blob. And also when phase 2 opens, his camp gets insanely well because he can double hit whoever's gonna come rescue. Land your 100% wax, hot wax immediately, get your half damage shit and immediate down. So with Wax Artist, he has okay chase. I would say okay chase, just average chase. Because when you land a wax on a survivor, their movement speed reduces by 2% or 3% if I'm not wrong. Their vaulting speed also reduces, and of course you can use wax to lock to lock windows and pallets, including ciphers and gates as well. So there goes you on that for wax. He's not a part of Dream Witch and Friends though, because he may have like the camp, he may have the map control. He may have the camp, he may have the cipher control, but he doesn't have map control, and his chase is only decent compared to Dream Witch and Pollen, in which they have, like, Pollen basically excels at chasing and map controlling. His camp is a little bit below average, but decent enough. Meanwhile, Dream Witch is like, okay, you have a good enough chase, but you have like a good enough camp, but like you have a really good map control and a really good cipher control. Meanwhile, Wax Artist doesn't really have that, but then also with the fact that, you know, if you just loop around, if you just basically loop around somewhere with like high walls, you can't really land wax, so that's going to be a little bit harder for you to deal with as a Wax Artist main. So yeah, Wax Artist is niche. Moving on, we will have Nightmare. Nightmare will also be fun to play. I wouldn't really say tie me to the moon, considering the fact that you do have to play quite a lot of games, and you do have to like land. Like, Nightmare is kind of like a homing missile when it comes to basic attack hits, when you basically lock onto the survivors. If the survivors hide behind a pallet, you can't really just normal hit, because you'll hit onto the wall, right? And like if you do cancel, I just think that the pallet mine game takes way too much effort, in my opinion. His chase is good, his map control is good, he has no cipher control, but his map control is good with the crows to slow the decoding, of course. It's not cipher control, maybe a little bit. You know what, a very tiny wincing bit of cipher control, and his map control is decent enough because he can teleport around the map just throwing crows anywhere. You don't have to throw crows at ciphers, by the way, you can just throw them anywhere. They only go to ciphers because you lock them onto cipher. If you just look at the direction, tap the crow, it'll just fly, and then you can basically tap teleport whenever you think like it's where you want to go. But his map control is definitely very decent. A lot of Nightmare mains do actually run. They genuinely do actually run like teleport Nightmare, double teleport Nightmare, or blink Nightmare. But it's also the fact that Nightmare mains have to bring like fast pallet breaking, because if they don't, it's just going to be pallet spam and you're not able to do anything. His pallet breaking is pretty darn slow as well. So yeah, there goes that. Can you sell against Nightmare? Yes, you can. Cause like even with the fact that you can teleport to a survivor who's on the cipher, you have to be careful of the fact that if the survivor stands in between pallets, when whoever is on chair returns to the mainer, they can basically pallet stun you and start containing you, like no tomorrow. But of course, like Nightmare's chase gets way better, like way better when phase 2 opens. But like if you set against a Nightmare, that's not gonna happen. That's not really gonna happen, is it? So yeah, he's more fun to play for me. He's really reliant on early game with your blink down. If you don't manage to blink down, you run a double teleport Nightmare. Ooh, that is gonna suck for you. It's gonna suck for you. So yeah, there goes Nightmare for that. Good chase early game, very high chase late game. Has decent map control, has a little teeny wincing cipher control, but has no camp. Yeah, there's no camp. There's really no camp for a Nightmare. Moving on, who's next? Naiad. Naiad will be niche this season. Wee! Naiad is niche now. She's not high guaranteed anymore. Reason being of the flywheel nerf as well. So even if they flywheel the water moisture, it'll immediately start stacking. Point number 1. Point number 2, Naiad counters tight kiting. So because of the survivor's persona debuff, there's no pallet speed buff anymore, which means even if they do flywheel the moisture, they'll still be inside the moisture. If they're not inside the moisture, basically Naiad probably can already get a hit by then. Right, let's just be fairly honest with ourselves on this point. So like against a Naiad, she's still niche now. She has good chase, she has her a little bit below average map control, which also comes in with the cipher control. Because, you know, she can traverse around the map pretty darn fast, but she can also lock the ciphers as well with the puddle, with the abyss. And her camp is decent. I would say decent enough. Because if you can land the first puddle with a 30% and then like do 2 normal mini puddles, get a double hit down, or just fail rescue terror shock immediately. Because of the fact that Naiad actually hits very fast as well. Like there's barely any animation when it comes to Naiad's basic attack hit. Terror shocking is a little bit more, like there's more chance of you terror shocking a survivor who wants to rescue. Because there's a lot of pressure, a lot of pressure. Right? So yeah, Naiad is now niche. I will say the reasons again. Reason number 1 being she counters Taikai, so whoever brings Flywheel, you basically don't have Palette or Windows speed boost. Even if you do Flywheel, Naiad's able to get a hit. She does have map control, she does have cipher control, and she also does have a decent enough camp. She also does have a decent enough chase. So she's like average / above average. Like she's above average in some cases, and just a tiny, teeny tiny bit below average in like some other places. But like it's like a above average overall, above average of the average overall. So like she has decent chase, a little bit of map control, decent enough camp, I think I'd say, and you know, yeah. So yeah, Naiad is now niche. Next on the list, I'll put Clerk on niche as well. Now, a lot of people may be wondering, hey Kudo, why is Clerk niche and why is Clerk not doing much on Friends? Reason number 1, I would say, is like, I would say she would be doing much on Friends if Clerk's scroll was a little bit longer. Because if you consider this right, Clerk can get looped in a certain area for 12 seconds, no problem, and then when the scroll is gone, they can put down the pallet immediately. You may argue, well, yeah, of course, no Sherlock, but like that's 12 seconds gone for you. And like when you record someone, you basically don't gain any scrolls back, so that's a bit sad. So her chase is not that good. Her chase is also highly countered by forward, by any, like if there's one harasser in the team, you're kind of screwed as Clerk, in my opinion. Right? We've seen the IVL as well, Dongshen bringing excitement Clerk, which basically means that he has to rely a lot on early game, like to get us down within 60 seconds just to counter that one forward. Clerk gets countered very hard by just body blocking in general and by harassers in general, or just with survivors putting down the pallets for them, so then like Clerk doesn't get any scrolls. But Clerk does have very high very high cipher control. I wouldn't say she's map control, because she doesn't traverse around the map fast enough. Right, she does have very high map control. Her camp is, she doesn't have camp, but I think her cipher control is the reason why she's above there. It is the reason why she's above there. She's really scared of like Prospector, Enchantress, Antiquarians in general. So if there's like one of them on a team, you basically have to be very careful of how you play. Because like imagine you use your blink and then an Antiquarian came and start harassing the hell out of you. You're gonna be like, oh no, why did I do this? But it's also with the fact that, because of the fact, you know, in current day meta, a lot of survivors do counter Clerk. It's gonna be a little bit harder for you to land the hit if you land 2 hits if you really do bring excitements. Let's be fairly honest with you on that part. We can say like Postman's dog counter her pretty darn hard, entomologist bees, any harassers in general, body blockers in general. So yeah, but like because of her map control and because, you know, she can utilize her own actions and record them, like to break pallets or vault windows, you can definitely get a hit, no problem. But I wouldn't put it on Dreamwitch and Friends because of the no map control, and she's heavily reliant on the cipher control. But like as long as she gets the cipher control, she can lock a cipher for ages. But that only comes with the fact that Survivor gives you the chance to do so, like to get a very early down, I would say, which is why she is niche and not Dreamwitch and Friends. Moving on, we will have Hermit. Hermit will also be Dreamwitch and Friends. Now, a lot of people, like, I know what you're gonna say. Listen, I know what you're gonna say. Rank bans these two the most. Yeah, they do ban these two the most. That's because they're going with randoms, right? Like, to counter Clerk, body block, harass. To counter Hermit, haha. To counter Hermit from on VC. Just 4-man VC in my opinion. Because like the moment Hermit links ciphers, survivors can touch the cipher and start like damage sharing. Damage sharing can basically lead to 9 cipher kite. Well, not 9 cipher kite. Can lead to 120-second kites at least. Let's be honest with you on that part. It can lead to 120-second kite. Right. And like the way to counter Hermit as well, either 2-person or one cipher, or like 1-person on or 3-person on 1 cipher. Because like the moment someone gets to half health, you immediately heal the one who's at half health. There you go for that one. How to counter Hermit. But also I think it's with the fact that like Hermit's fire orbs can get countered by flywheel, but like Hermit also, like because of the damage sharing, he needs to be very careful how he plays it. Even if survivors are like 1 hit down, if they have orbs on them, they can do rescue no problems. And with the fact that, you know, I would say it would almost always be a guaranteed rebound kite unless Hermit has opened phase 2. The fact that, you know, the moment that Hermit lands any type red or blue orb on the survivor who is on chair, there's going to be another survivor out there who's going to change polarity. So then like they can take 2 hits no problem. Right? Which is why I think Hermit is also niche as well. As long as you have good team communication in current day meta, he does get countered pretty darn hard compared to like Dream Witch and Pollen. You can't really body block against a Dream Witch in my opinion. I think that's just a waste of your time. Yeah, I genuinely think that's a waste of your time. So Hermit and Clerk will be on niche. Hermit has okay chase. I would say decent chase because of Fire Orb. Hermit has, and because when phase 1 opens, you can basically teleport around the map to a certain extent. He has cipher control. He has a little bit of map control. But it's also with the fact that survivors can basically counterplay you with damage sharing, which does hurt quite a bit to a certain extent. Like if the survivor knows that you're playing Hermit, they would just rotate towards areas with high walls to contain there. So what you gonna do about it, Hermit? You're gonna land an orb and make it go through walls? Yeah, that's highly unlikely. Which is why Hermit is more niche than Dream Witch and Friends for me, in all honesty. Now, if I'm not wrong, I think that will be the end of the Hunter tier list. Of course, feel free to rebuttal, feel free to not argue, feel free to debate about some of the Hunters here. But overall, this is what I think. In Dream Witch and Friends, you have Dream Witch and Pollen. In Niche, you have Clerk, Hermit, Wax, Naiad, BQ, Geisha, Sculptor. Sculptor probably should be fun to play. Tie Me to the Moon would be Disciple, Guard 26, Axeboy, Soulweaver, Violinist. Fun to play would be Nightmare, The Feaster, The Ripper, Wu-Chan, Smiley Face, Gamekeeper, Evil, Reptilian, Photographer, Undead. And 1k games later will most likely be Ember and Mud Ice. Of course, I will most likely be reading the comments and seeing like from your perspectives with each Hunters. But of course, this will be Hunter tier list for season 25. Like and sub, I guess, if you enjoyed this, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye byes.